There's this moment when your body reacts before your brain can catch up. Like when you hear a crash in the other room or see a shadow move across a hallway you thought was empty. Your heart skips, your skin tightens, and your gut knows something's wrong. That's what it felt like that morning. It started off like any other Thursday. I left for work at 6:45 a.m., just like I had for the last 6 years. Kissed her cheek while she pretended to sleep, still curled on her side of the bed, hair spilling over the pillow. I remember her muttering something about needing to sleep in. Headache, maybe. I didn't question it. I didn't question much anymore. I was halfway through my commute when my phone buzzed. A pipe burst in the server room. Nothing serious, but the whole office had to shut down for emergency maintenance. Everyone was sent home. I turned the car around, stopped for coffee, even thought about grabbing flowers. Lilies. Her favorite. I figured maybe we'd have breakfast together for once. It felt almost like a gift. One of those rare mornings life hands you, unplanned and soft around the edges. I didn't call ahead. I didn't think I needed to. The house was quiet when I got home, the way it always was during the day. I didn't even take off my shoes. Just walked in slow, holding the coffee tray, trying not to spill it. Sunlight was pouring in through the blinds. Everything looked normal. Too normal. That's the part that still haunts me. How normal it looked. I called out her name, gently. No answer. I smiled to myself. Maybe she was still asleep. I headed upstairs, careful not to make too much noise. The bedroom door was half closed. That was the first crack. We never left it like that. I pushed it open with my foot. And that's when my body knew before my brain did. I saw skin. Movement. The kind of intimacy that erases everything else in the room. There was her laugh, soft and unguarded, the kind I hadn't heard in months. She was tangled in the sheets, straddling someone who was definitely not me. The coffee tray hit the ground. The cups shattered. She screamed. He jumped up, grabbing whatever fabric he could. I just stood there, frozen in the doorway like a ghost in my own home. Her eyes met mine, and I swear to you, they didn't even widen in surprise. They just shifted, like she'd been waiting for this moment. Like something inside her had finally snapped into place. "You're supposed to be at work?" she whispered. That's what she said. Not "I'm sorry." Not "this isn't what it looks like." Just that. "You're supposed to be at work." I didn't respond. I couldn't. My tongue felt like it was glued to the roof of my mouth. My heart was pounding in my ears. I could see the man, some gym-built cliché, probably 10 years younger than me, scrambling to gather his pants. I remember he had a tattoo on his ribcage. Something in Latin. Ironic, probably. She wrapped a sheet around herself, suddenly all modesty and shame, and tried to approach me. "Let me explain," she said, voice trembling. I stepped back. I couldn't even feel my hands. There are moments in life that split you in two. The man I was before I opened that door. He died right there in the hallway. What was left of me was someone else entirely. Not angry. Not yet. Just hollow. I didn't yell. I didn't ask questions. I just turned around and walked out. My keys were still in my pocket. The front door clicked behind me. I sat in the car for 10 minutes before starting it. My hands were shaking. I stared at my reflection in the rearview mirror and didn't recognize the man looking back. His face was pale, lips tight, eyes wet. I drove without thinking. Just got on the freeway and let the road take me. It wasn't until I hit the coast, hours later, that I pulled over, parked the car, and let the tears come. Not loud sobs. Just that quiet, broken kind of crying that doesn't even feel like crying. Just leaking. I don't remember how long I stayed there. Maybe an hour. Maybe 4. The sky changed color, and still, I couldn't move. What haunted me most wasn't the betrayal. Not the act itself. It was the ease of it. The normalcy. The way she looked at me. Not with fear, not even guilt, but with inconvenience. Like I'd interrupted something important. And maybe I had. Maybe their morning was perfect until I ruined it. That thought. God, that thought cut deeper than anything else. The idea that I was the intruder in my own life. That our bed had become someone else's safe place. When I finally drove back, the house was dark. She was gone, but her perfume still lingered in the hallway. And on the side of the bed that wasn't mine, her earring glinted in the sheets like a forgotten lie. I didn't go back to work the next day. I called in sick and stared at the ceiling for most of the morning. The house was still, not peaceful, just eerily quiet, like it was holding its breath. Her toothbrush was gone. So was her robe. I checked the closet without meaning to. Half of it was empty, not cleaned out, just selected. Like she knew which parts of her life to take and which to leave behind. Like she'd already been planning this. And maybe she had. I spent that afternoon moving through the house like a guest. Every room held pieces of us, photos from ski trips, candles we'd picked out at that shop in Charleston, the couch we fought over in the showroom because she thought it was too masculine. And now I realized it never really mattered. She always got her way. I just didn't see it back then. I made dinner out of habit. Boiled pasta, forgot to salt it. Ate half a bowl in silence and threw the rest away. My phone buzzed at 9:12 p.m. Unknown number. We should talk. Tomorrow? No name. No apology. Just a timestamp and a hollow offer. I didn't reply. That night, I slept in the guest room. The sheets were stiff, untouched. I couldn't bring myself to sleep in our bed, not with the image of her and him still burned into the mattress. I lay there with the lamp on, staring at the ceiling fan spinning slow circles like it could rewind the day if it just spun fast enough. It couldn't. Morning came without mercy. I checked my email. 50 unread messages. My boss wanted updates. My team was asking about a deadline. I answered none of them. Instead, I opened an old folder I hadn't touched in years. Vacation plans, financial docs, a half-finished will we started drafting after our first miscarriage. I stared at the dates, the names, the shared passwords. It felt like I was flipping through the pages of someone else's life. Around noon, I finally called someone. Not her, not a lawyer. My brother. He picked up on the third ring. Hey, I said. My voice cracked. There was a pause. What happened? I told him everything. The coffee tray, the sheet, the man, the silence. He didn't say much, just listened. When I finished, he exhaled through the phone. Jesus, he said. Do you want me to come over? No. I just needed someone to know. He didn't press, didn't offer revenge or cliches. Just said, I'm here when you need me. That helped more than I expected. By the third day, I finally responded to her text. One word. Why? She replied within minutes. It wasn't planned. That sentence. God. It rattled in my head like a stone in a dryer. It wasn't planned. What was I supposed to do with that? Frame it? Tattoo it? Whisper it into the night like a prayer? I asked again, why him? Why our bed? This time, the response took longer. I don't know. I was lonely. You were always gone. It just happened. It just happened. That was her explanation for detonating our life. For hollowing out the home we built. For throwing herself into someone else's arms. In the space where we once whispered about baby names and Sunday plans. I didn't respond again. A few days later, she came back. Not to stay, just to talk. Said she wanted to explain in person. I agreed, mostly out of morbid curiosity. She wore a denim jacket and no makeup, hair tied up like she used to in the early days. The nostalgia of it almost made me sick. We sat in the kitchen. I stayed standing. She looked around like she didn't recognize it anymore. I didn't mean to hurt you, she said. I stared at her. Then why did you? She looked down at her hands. I thought I was unhappy. Were you? I don't know, she whispered. Silence stretched. Was it just him? I asked. Her eyes flicked up. No, she said quietly. There were others. That's when something in me cracked. Not loud, not dramatic. Just a small fracture behind the ribs. A quiet snap. How long? I asked. Over a year. A year. 365 days of pretending. Kissing me goodnight with someone else's taste still in her mouth. Whispering, I love you, through gritted teeth. I nodded. Walked to the sink. Turned on the tap so she wouldn't hear my breathing change. When I turned around, she was crying. Not sobbing. Just leaking, like I had on the side of the road. Only now, the guilt finally caught up. I didn't think you'd find out, she said. You were always so trusting. I let out a breath that wasn't a laugh. That's not a compliment. She stood to leave, reaching for the doorknob like it was all too much. Wait, I said. She froze. Do you love him? I don't know, she said. Maybe I just love that he wasn't you. She left after that. Didn't slam the door. Didn't beg. Just slipped into the hallway and disappeared down the steps. I stood there for a long time. Her perfume still lingered. But now it smelled like goodbye. After she left, I sat in that kitchen for what felt like hours. The quiet wasn't peaceful anymore. It was too sharp, like silence with jagged edges. Every sound in the house echoed. The tick of the clock, the hum of the fridge, the creak in the floorboards. It was like the walls themselves were mourning. I kept thinking about what she said. Maybe I just love that he wasn't you. That sentence unraveled something in me. Not because it was cruel, though it was, but because it was honest. Brutally, devastatingly honest. And maybe, in some backward way, that was the first honest thing she'd said to me in months. The truth is, I had become invisible, predictable, dependable. I was the man who paid the bills on time, remembered anniversaries, texted when I'd be late, brought home groceries without being asked. I thought those things mattered. I still believe they do. But I learned something in that kitchen. Stability isn't always enough for people who crave chaos. For people who confuse drama with passion, who call impulsiveness freedom. She didn't want a partner. She wanted a thrill. And I wasn't thrilling. I was safe. I started packing that night. Not out of anger. Just necessity. I boxed up the photos first. Every picture of us smiling. Every frame of forced happiness. It was like burying a version of myself I didn't recognize anymore. I left the dishes, the furniture, even my clothes. I didn't care. I took only what was mine. My journals, my watch, a few books, the guitar I hadn't played since our first year of marriage. And the dog. She hadn't even asked about him. By morning, I was gone. I didn't leave a note. Just left the wedding photo face down on the dining table. That was all the closure I could offer her. One last flipped-over lie. I moved into a friend's guest house for a while. Quiet place, out by the lake. No internet. Spotty cell service. Just trees, water, and time. I needed that. Not to plan revenge, not to rage or spiral. Just to breathe. For the first few days, I didn't do anything. Didn't shower. Didn't eat much. Just sat by the window and watched the wind move through the trees like it was trying to tell me something. On the fifth night, I opened one of my journals. I flipped back through the entries. Years of thoughts, hopes, questions. And there, buried in the middle, was a sentence I wrote 2 years ago. She's here, but she's not with me. I had known. Somewhere deep down, I had felt it. Her absence while present. The way her eyes darted when I asked where she'd been. The small, cold silences at breakfast. I'd just chosen to love through it. Chosen not to name the feeling because naming it made it real. But it was real. It always had been. I started therapy a few weeks later. Told my story to someone whose job wasn't to judge or fix, just to listen. And for the first time, I heard myself say it out loud. I wasn't enough for her. My therapist didn't flinch. She just nodded and said, "You may not have been what she wanted, but that doesn't mean you weren't enough." That line stayed with me. Still does. Because she was right. I wasn't lacking. I was just misaligned with someone who never really wanted what I had to give. And that's not my failure. That's just life. We finalized the divorce 6 months later. She didn't fight it. No drama. Just papers, signatures, and a court clerk who barely looked up. She wore sunglasses indoors. I didn't speak. When it was done, I walked out before she could say anything. The fresh air hit like a baptism. I drove straight to the coast, same spot I'd pulled over that first day. Only this time, I wasn't crying. I wasn't hollow. I just sat on the hood of my car and let the wind move through me. I still think about her sometimes. Not often. Not with rage. More like remembering a book I once read. One with a beautiful beginning and a heartbreaking ending. A story I'll never reread, but one I'll never forget. People ask if I've forgiven her. I always say yes. But forgiveness, for me, isn't a warm feeling. It's distance. It's knowing I no longer need to carry the weight of her choices. It's peace, not permission. She's still with him, last I heard. Or maybe it's someone new. Maybe she's still chasing that next high, that next version of not me. I don't know. I don't check. I live in a smaller place now, near water. No big declarations. No grand plans. Just quiet mornings, strong coffee, the dog curled up by the window. Sometimes, I still sleep in the guest bed. Not because I need to, but because that's where the healing began. And sometimes healing doesn't look like closure or clarity. Sometimes, it just looks like waking up and breathing easier.